Well, so much for tidings of comfort and joy. I mean,
Wow.
one step forward, one giant fall flat backwards.
Yeah.
And disappointing all the way around.
Yeah, and as we previewed this game earlier in the week, my thought was is the offense could continue to make progress against a Detroit defense that wasn't very good stopping the run or very good stopping the pass. Ultimately, the one thing they have done well all season long, and we saw it on display yesterday, was their ability to take the football away. It's a very opportunistic defense, a very good secondary, and we saw that yesterday as Mitchell threw three second-half interceptions. And look, you can't go on the road, commit 13 penalties, and turn it over 3 times with the limits they have in terms of their roster and expect to beat a team that, oh, by the way, is still trying to play for a playoff spot.
How come when something works offensively one week, they don't repeat that the next week? That's a pattern we've seen all season.
Yeah, some of it is, like Adam Sheen wasn't available, so seeing him out there doing things in the middle of the field wasn't going to be possible. Some of it is game plans. You know, the other team watches your film, and then they come out with a plan to try to slow down what you're doing. I was as excited as I was about the game plan against the Bengals, and some of that was the product of the Bengals defense being banged up and being without 5 starters. And as I said, this is a better Detroit Lions team than the one they faced the week before. I wasn't real happy with some of the approach. You know, they need to run the football more out of shotgun, in my humble opinion. It's something that Jordan Howard did very well at Indiana. It's something he's done well in 2 years here in Chicago, and I don't believe he had a single carry out of the shotgun formation. I mean, just look inside the running numbers. The Detroit Lions were dead last in the league running the football. Offensively, they ranked 32nd. They doubled the rushing yard output of our Chicago Bears. The last time the Bears played the Lions, they ran the ball for better than 200 yards. This Bears football team should have been able to establish the run. It doesn't help that you lose a couple of your offensive linemen, but it looked like a really lackadaisical approach from the team. And, you know, it's hard to put your finger on really what ails them on a week in and week out basis. And they just never got on track on offense. Never saw Mitchell get to the edge on bootlegs. Didn't see a ton of bunch routes with the wide receivers. It just never got started.
Did he make progress, Trubisky?
He experienced another NFL football game. And to me, that's progress. You know, I'm not trying to be flip about this. Statistically, the numbers say that, yes, he threw for 300 yards, but he also turned the football over 3 times in the second half. He makes progress every time he's in an entire game. This experience, as I've said over and over again, is invaluable for him. These are the bumps in the road that we all expected him to have. Last week, he was brilliant. This week, he played like a rookie. And that's just the natural growth process for a young quarterback who came into the league inexperienced. So am I down on him? No. Would I like to see him clean some things up? Absolutely. My thought was they were going to help him out by establishing the running game, and the running game just never got going.
Defensively, I think the Bears have gotten their money's worth out of Lamar Houston over the last couple of games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
4
been
sacks,
a nice,
I think.
It's been a nice bonus for them when they've run into looking at depth here.
Yeah, and think about it. I mean, they have missed so many of their players recently. They've lost so many starts from their guys because of injury. And yet, yesterday, against a team that scores a ton of points, they had 4 sacks of Matthew Stafford. As I mentioned, the Lions ran the football significantly better against the Bears yesterday than they had against other opponents. But the Bears held them to 20 points. So you sack Matthew Stafford 4 times and you hold the Lions to 20 points. And once again, you say maybe it wasn't a dominant effort defensively, but it certainly was good enough to give the offense a chance and the team as in total a chance to win this game. So I think they've gotten their money out of Lamar Houston. Yes, I think they've gotten their money out of Akeem Hicks. I think they've gotten their money out of Danny Trevathan. Eddie Goldman, other than the hideously inexplicable penalty in the first play of the game, has continued to play well. But again, they are so thin that when they are missing Leonard Floyd and they're missing other players out there, it gets to be a little hairy at times. Make a play, though. You know, I mean, 2 weeks ago we saw Eddie Jackson take the ball away twice.
Yes.
You know, yesterday in that game on 3rd and 18, Eddie's got to go up and knock that ball down, and he allows Marvin Jones to come down with a great catch. I mean, those are the moments that define who you are over the course of the season, and what they have been defined to be is a 4-10 team.
I am so worn by the conversation. I really am. I mean, it's just been the same dialogue, I feel like, all season long. I'm sure fans are just as frustrated. What can John Fox say to this group to rally them against a winless Browns team next week?
Well, I mean, again, I think what you have to do is, as a coach, and that's the one thing, despite the margin of victory, 20-10, you're on the road. This Bears team will play hard. I mean, that's the one thing that we can say about this coaching staff that you have to admire is compared to the prior regime with Mark Trestman when things went sideways at the end in his second year is, look, they're not executing. There are some questionable decisions being made in terms of game planning, but they're playing hard. And my message to them would be every one of your mistakes is on display, as well as all of your accomplishments. So not only are you playing for the Chicago Bears in your future here in Chicago, with the NFL career lasting less than 4 years, you're always being evaluated. So if you can't, pull it from within to fight for the guy next to you, do it from a selfish individual perspective and know that you're being judged. So I expect, I haven't yet come to the conclusion they'll beat the Browns. Could they lose to the Browns? No doubt about it.
Yeah.
But I expect them to keep playing hard.
I mean, cover your eyes if that becomes reality. It is also very telling when the newspaper has a countdown to Black Monday. John Fox, sadly, I think will ultimately lose his job.
Look, what are they, 13-33 or 12-33, whatever it is. It hasn't been good, and I do believe that change is on the horizon, and it's just the nature of the job. You and I were having this conversation earlier. Whether you find yourself on social media, you're following Twitter, or it's a results-oriented business, and all of your mistakes are out there for the world to see. The upside is you are handsomely compensated for what you do, and the adulation is out of this world when things are going well. When things are going bad, like I said, all of your pockmarks and all of your mistakes are on display. We lose sight of the fact that these are still human beings. So yes, I can stand here and say to you, yes, I do believe there will be a coaching change, and I think it will be one that is well explained, and it will be done for the right reason. But by the same token, I will not stand here and revel in the thought that John Fox and his staff are going to lose their jobs. So that's reality. That's the nature of the business. But I don't feel the need to receive a pound of flesh. I don't, as angry as I am about how they've played and as disappointed as I am, I'm not these heads need to roll type of guy, but I do recognize that change is on the way.
Some of the questions surrounding a guy, Mitchell Trubisky, can he be as good as Ryan Pace believes he can be?
He better be, or Ryan Pace maybe.
Right, but 10-11 starts in. Are we continuing to see signs of that?
Well, I think what we saw yesterday were some moments where, when the pocket is clean, he can stick it. I mean, he can plant his feet, and when his mechanics are good, and that's not always the case, he can throw it. He is athletic. I think that what you have to realize about Mitchell, and I know people get tired of hearing me say this, but it is true. He had 13 starts at the collegiate level. I mean, this is a brave new world for him, where everyone's as fast and as strong and as big and as athletic as probably the top 2 or 3 guys he faced every week at North Carolina. Those guys are 3 or 4 positions deep. So we don't know yet. It's an unwritten book. Everyone wants to draw the analogy to Jared Goff, who last year is the #1 overall selection, really struggled with the Rams. And then Sean McVay came in.
Right.
And now everyone is talking about, well, that's the path that Mitchell's going to take. Very well may be the case. They may find an offensive-minded head coach that really gels with Mitchell. But they better also find Sammy Watkins and sign Robert Woods as a free agent and find Cooper Kupp, and then sign a left tackle that may be headed to the Hall of Fame the way that Andre Whitworth is. And their second-round tight end rookie has 25 or 30 catches. So the point is they may be able to find somebody that can get the best out of Mitchell and develop him nicely, but there is a ceiling that Mitchell will bump up against if the people around him in the offensive huddle aren't better as well. So the Rams, the template is great, and it's something we can talk about and get excited about, and maybe that will be the case. Circling back, it's like, look, yes, there's going to be a coaching change, but if you think firing John Fox and Dow Loggins and Vic Fangio is going to end up solving everybody's problems, I think everyone will be sadly mistaken. The roster needs to improve and improve dramatically. And with regard to the young quarterback, you have to give him more to work with.
And by the way, Aaron Rodgers came back, and the Vikings clinched the division for the second time in 3 years. I mean, the competition level is much higher than where the Bears are at right now.
Well, and it's a great point, Dionne, because as we've said a bunch as well, the biggest issue in my world is how they stack up with the rest of the division, not to mention the rest of the conference. And if you go through their roster, while they do have some nice pieces, and when they're 100% healthy on defense, I think they can be a top 10 defense. But when you go position by position and item by item, they haven't stacked up with the Lions or the Vikings or the Packers for years. So again, the coaching change will be made. It does not solve. That's not the magic pill here.
Right.
They still have a long way to go to upgrade that roster in a number of positions where they can actually compete with these guys on a number of occasions. Look, I believe they've lost 8 of their last 9 or 9 of their last 10 to the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
I believe John's record was 3-14 in the division so far. I mean, it starts there. Mike Ditka always used to tell us it starts with being not just competitive, but winning the majority of your division games, and they haven't been able to do it. So it's a combo platter here. You know, maybe there's some new ideas or a fresh new face. You know, Mitchell's ear may help, but if they don't have some fresh new talent out at the wide receiver position and in other spots, I don't know that it gets a whole lot better.
But they could sweep the AFC North.
They are. If they beat the Browns, they will be the AFC North champs.
They will.
Yeah.
And I believe they should get something for that. But
they're going to get a high draft pick.
If they lose to the Browns, I might stand here with no words.
We'll have to talk about it. I mean, we'll certainly have to talk about it. I'm not one of these guys either that wants. Look, I understand. The higher they pick, the more options you have.
Right.
But because I played for this organization and the burnt orange and navy blue courses through my body, I can't sit here and honestly tell you I'm cheering for losses so that they have a higher draft pick. Because I think you can still learn. This young man, Mitchell Trubisky, winning with him, and if Tariq Cohen and Adam Shaheen and Eddie Jackson are part of another win or 2 more wins, that's all progress for these guys. And I know everyone is sitting at home going, shut up, Waddle, we want a higher draft pick. I'm not here to tell you necessarily that that's always the best route.
Look, winter is better when, you know, we have minimal snow and the Bears are winning, right?
Well, I sat on my couch last week and watched that Bears win, and for the first time, well, one of the only times this year, I actually felt like I had a really good Sunday.
Yeah.
And I knew they weren't going to the postseason.
Of course not.
And if they beat the Cleveland Browns, I know that doesn't mean they're going anywhere, but I certainly personally will enjoy it.
Waking up on December 25th going, you know what?
Yes.
They won 5 games.
They delivered a victory over the Browns for Christmas for me.
Prayer and fasting begins now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay.